Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of his massive warship. He was tall with 4 arms and blue skin. His ship was called the Eternal Dawn, and it was one of the most powerful vessels in the Valorian Empire. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. They had the best technology, the strongest military, and they knew everything about space. Today was just another boring day. His officer walked up to him with a datapad. "Sir, we found another primitive planet," the officer said. His name was Talon, and he looked tired. "It's in Sector 7 Alpha, 3rd planet from a yellow star." Cross looked at the screen. A blue and green planet rotated slowly in front of him. It had oceans and land masses. It looked peaceful. "Any intelligent life?" Cross asked. "Yes, sir. They call themselves humans. But their technology is very basic. They still use chemical rockets to fly. They burn fuel to make their vehicles move. They haven't even figured out quantum physics yet. They're still stuck on their own planet." Cross nodded slowly. This was common. The galaxy was full of primitive species. Most of them would take thousands of years to develop proper technology. Some never made it at all. "Add them to the database," Cross ordered. "Mark the system for observation. We'll check on them again in 500 years, see if they've made any progress." "Yes, sir," Teln said. He typed some notes into the computer. "Sol system. Species human, status primitive. Do not make contact." The Eternal Dawn activated its faster-than-light drive and disappeared. The humans on Earth below had no idea that aliens had just looked at them and decided they weren't worth talking to yet. On Earth, in a small laboratory in California, Dr. Ben Carter was having a bad day. He was trying to solve a math problem that made no sense. He had been working on it for 3 months. The problem was about quantum entanglement, which was a way particles could be connected across long distances. Across the lab, his friend Dr. Lisa Monroe was working on something different. She was trying to create new materials by arranging molecules in special patterns. "Ben, come look at this," Lisa called out. She sounded excited. Ben walked over to her workstation. On the table was a small crystal. It was beautiful, glowing with a soft blue light. "What is it?" Ben asked. "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "I was running a normal experiment, and this just formed. But look at what it does." She connected the crystal to a power source. The crystal began to glow brighter. Then something strange happened. The materials around the crystal started to change. They began forming the same crystalline pattern. "It's teaching other materials how to organize themselves," Lisa whispered. "And look at these readings. It's conducting electricity at almost perfect efficiency. No energy loss at all." Ben felt his heart beat faster. He had been a scientist for 20 years, and he had never seen anything like this. "This could change everything," he said quietly. Lisa nodded. "I know. We need to share this with other scientists. We need to understand what we've found." They didn't know it yet, but Lisa's crystal was the most important discovery in human history. The Valorians had found the same type of crystal 3,000 years ago. It had taken them centuries to understand it and use it properly, but humans were about to do something different. They were about to figure it out much, much faster. Within 2 months, Lisa and Ben published their research. Scientists all over the world read their paper. Labs in America, China, Europe, and Africa all started working with the crystals. Everyone wanted to understand them. Dr. Jake Morrison was an engineer in Los Angeles. He read about the crystals and had an idea. He wondered if they could be used to generate power. He built a small prototype in his garage. The device worked better than he had dreamed. It converted matter directly into energy with almost no waste. His power generator was the size of a backpack, but could power an entire house for a year. When Jake published his results, energy companies around the world took notice. Within 6 months, the cost of electricity dropped by 90%. People who had lived without power suddenly had access to unlimited clean energy. Dr. Amy Zhang was a physicist working in Beijing. She was studying how the crystals interacted with space and time. She discovered that the crystals could create vibrations in the fabric of reality itself. She wrote a paper explaining how these vibrations could be used to travel faster than light. Her paper was only 30 pages long, but it changed everything. Engineers started building prototype engines based on her designs. The first test was successful. A small probe jumped 10 light years in 1 second and came back. All over Earth, humans were making discoveries at an incredible pace. Each new discovery led to 3 more. Better computers led to better simulations. Better simulations led to new theories. New theories led to new inventions, and every invention made the next one easier. Dr. Ben Carter sat in his lab one night looking at all the progress that had been made in just 2 years. He felt amazed and also a little scared. "We're moving so fast," he said to Lisa, who was working late with him. 2 years ago, we were still using fossil fuels for most of our energy. Now we have fusion reactors. We're building ships that can travel faster than light. Is this normal?" Lisa shook her head. "I don't think so. I think we've stumbled onto something special. The crystals are like a key that's unlocking doors we didn't even know existed." "Do you think there are others out there?" Ben asked. "Other intelligent species in the galaxy?" "Probably," Lisa said. "The universe is too big for us to be alone. I wonder what they'll think of us," Ben said quietly. High above Earth, in orbit, construction crews were working on humanity's first real spacecraft. It wasn't a small probe or a simple rocket. It was a ship designed to carry humans to other star systems. The ship was 300 meters long and used technology that hadn't existed 3 years ago. The project manager, Commander Ryan Blake, watched the construction through a window. He was a former pilot who had flown jets in the Air Force. Now he was going to command a starship. "It's beautiful," his engineer Kate Sullivan said, standing next to him. "It's impossible," Ryan replied. 3 years ago, this would have been science fiction. Now it's real." "That's progress for you," Kate said with a smile. But neither of them understood just how fast humanity was really moving. They didn't know that in the rest of the galaxy, it normally took species thousands of years to reach this level of technology. They didn't know that they had just done in 3 years what should have taken 3,000, and they definitely didn't know that the Valorian Empire was about to notice them again. 3 years had passed since Lisa Monroe discovered the crystal. Earth looked completely different now. Commander Ryan Blake stood in the control room of humanity's first orbital shipyard. Robots and automated machines were building a massive ship in space. The vessel was 300 meters long and made from materials that were stronger than steel, but lighter than aluminum. The whole thing glowed with a soft blue light from the crystalline structure. "We're ahead of schedule," Kate Sullivan said. She was the chief engineer for the project. "The quantum drive is already installed. We can start test flights in 2 months." Ryan shook his head in disbelief. "My grandfather helped build the Apollo rockets that went to the moon. They used computers that were less powerful than a cell phone. Now we're building starships that can travel faster than light." Kate pulled up a chart on her tablet. "Look at this timeline. It took humans 10,000 years to go from farming to the Industrial Revolution. Then it took 200 years to go from steam engines to computers. Then 50 years to go from computers to landing on the moon. Now we've gone from the moon to faster-than-light travel in just 3 years. Why is it happening so fast?" Ryan asked. "It's called a cascade effect," Kate explained. "Every new technology helps us create 3 more technologies. The crystals gave us better computers. Better computers let us understand complex physics. Understanding physics gave us new materials. New materials let us build better tools, and better tools make everything else faster. Down on Earth, life was changing just as quickly. The crystal technology had solved the energy crisis. Fusion reactors the size of a car could power an entire city. Nobody worried about electricity bills anymore because power was basically free. Dr. Chris Hoffman worked in a medical research lab in Boston. He was watching tiny machines swim through a blood sample under a microscope. The machines were so small that you needed special equipment to see them. They were called nanobots. "Watch this," Chris said to his partner, Dr. Nina Walsh. "I'm going to add some cancer cells to the sample." He added a drop of liquid containing cancer cells. Immediately, the nanobots detected the cancer and attacked it. Within seconds, all the cancer cells were destroyed. The healthy cells were completely untouched. "We can cure cancer," Chris said softly. "This is going to save millions of lives." But Nina looked worried. "Chris, doesn't this scare you? We're changing everything so fast. 3 years ago, cancer was a death sentence. Now we can cure it. What's next? How far will we go?" "I don't know," Chris admitted. "But I don't think we can stop it now. The technology is out there. Everyone is using it." He was right. The cascade was unstoppable. Every day brought new inventions and discoveries. Dr. Alex Rivera was a physicist working for the International Space Agency. He had just completed the first successful test of a faster-than-light drive with a real ship. The test probe had jumped 30 light-years away in an instant, taken pictures, and jumped back. "Look at these images," Alex said to his team. He put the pictures on a big screen. They showed a solar system with several planets. One of the planets had lights on the dark side, which meant cities. There were also objects in orbit around the planet. There's someone else out there, Alex said. We're not alone in the universe. The news spread across Earth in minutes. For the first time in human history, they had proof of alien life. But instead of panic, people felt excited. If there were aliens out there, humans needed to be ready to meet them. The government approved plans to build 50 starships. Each one would be better than the last, using the newest technology. They would have weapons for defense, shields for protection, and drives that could cross the galaxy in days. Commander Ryan Blake was chosen to captain the first completed ship. It was called the Horizon's Edge, and it was the most advanced machine humanity had ever built. You'll be our first ambassador to the stars, the president told Ryan at a ceremony. You'll represent all of humanity when we meet other species. Ryan felt the weight of that responsibility. I'll do my best, sir. But even as the Horizon's Edge was being finished, the technology kept improving. A young scientist named Matt Cooper discovered how to manipulate the crystals at an even smaller level. His discovery led to something amazing called matter replication. It meant you could create any object from pure energy and basic atoms. This changes everything, said Sophie Chen, an economist who was studying the impact of new technology. She was giving a speech to world leaders. Right now, we still have money and trade because things are scarce. But with matter replication, we can create anything we need. Food, clothes, tools, even complex machines. We're entering a post-scarcity world. Money might become meaningless. The implications were enormous. If you could create anything, then poverty would disappear. Hunger would end. Everyone could have whatever they needed. But some people were worried. General Eric Barnes was in charge of Earth's defense. He sat in a meeting with other military leaders. We're advancing too fast, he said. We barely understand the technology we're using. What if something goes wrong? What if we create something we can't control? What choice do we have? Asked Commander Lily Jackson. The technology exists. We can't just ignore it and hope it goes away. I know, Eric said, but I have a bad feeling about this. We're like children playing with dynamite. Unknown to the humans on Earth, they were right to be worried. But the danger wouldn't come from their own technology. It would come from those who feared what humanity was becoming. Far across the galaxy, the Valorian Empire was starting to notice something strange. Their automated monitoring systems had detected unusual energy readings from the Sol system, the system where the primitive humans lived. A survey ship called the Quiet Observer was sent to investigate. Captain Dren expected to find nothing more than a sensor error. Maybe a solar flare or a cosmic event that confused the equipment. What he found instead shocked him completely. This is impossible, Dren whispered as he stared at the displays. Run the scans again. There must be an error. I've run them 5 times, Captain, his sensor officer replied. The readings are correct. The Sol system had changed. Orbital stations circled Earth and Mars. Ships moved between the planets. And at the edge of the system, a massive vessel was preparing to jump to faster than light speed. They have quantum drives, Dren said in disbelief. They have fusion power. They have crystalline computing. Captain's log. The human species has gone from primitive to spacefaring in only 3 cycles. This has never happened before in recorded history. Captain Dren knew this was important. He immediately sent his report to Admiral Cross at Empire headquarters. When Cross received the report, he read it 3 times. Then he called an emergency meeting with the High Council. This is impossible, said Council Member Trix. No species develops this fast. Our models say it should take 500 cycles minimum. The evidence is right here, Cross said, showing them the images. The humans have achieved in 3 cycles what normally takes hundreds. Could another species have helped them? Someone asked. No evidence of that, Cross replied. They appear to have done this themselves. The council members looked at each other nervously. A species that advanced this quickly could become very powerful very fast. That made them dangerous. We need to make contact, Cross said. We need to understand how they did this. And if they refuse to share their knowledge? Trix asked. Cross didn't answer. He didn't want to think about what the Empire might do if the humans became a threat. Admiral Cross sat in his private office aboard the Eternal Dawn. He was reading reports from across the Empire. Everything seemed normal until one report made him stop. He read it again to make sure he understood correctly. "This can't be right," he muttered. He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me High Researcher Ven immediately." A few moments later, a hologram appeared in front of him. Ven was the head of the Empire's science division. She looked annoyed at being disturbed. "What is it, Admiral?" Ven asked. "The Sol system. The primitive humans we catalogued 3 cycles ago. Our monitoring stations are reporting that they have faster-than-light travel now." Ven's expression didn't change. "That's obviously a sensor malfunction. We marked them as primitive. They couldn't possibly develop that fast." "That's what I thought," Cross said. "But the automated systems have flagged it as a major anomaly. I think we should send a ship to check." "Fine," Ven sighed. "Send a survey ship. But you're wasting time and resources. It's just a glitch." Cross dispatched the survey ship Quiet Observer to investigate. The crew wasn't worried. They expected to find nothing but broken sensors. Captain Dren commanded the Quiet Observer. He was experienced and calm. He had investigated hundreds of sensor anomalies in his career. They were almost always equipment failures or natural phenomena. When the Quiet Observer entered the Sol system, Dren was drinking tea and reading a report. Then the alarm started blaring. "Captain, you need to see this," his sensor officer called out. Dren walked to the command console and looked at the display. Then he dropped his teacup. It shattered on the floor, but he didn't notice. "Run full diagnostics," he ordered. "Check everything. This has to be wrong." "I've already run diagnostics 3 times, sir," the officer replied. "All systems are working perfectly. The readings are accurate. The Sol system was transformed. Where there had been a single primitive planet 3 cycles ago, there was now a thriving civilization. Massive orbital stations circled Earth. Mining operations were underway on the Moon and Mars. Ships moved between the planets using advanced propulsion systems. And there, preparing to jump away, was a massive starship that looked as advanced as anything in the Valorian fleet. "They have fusion reactors," Dren said slowly. "They have quantum drives. They have energy shields. How is this possible?" He recorded everything and sent an urgent message to Admiral Cross. When Cross received the report, he called an emergency meeting with the High Council. The council was made up of the 12 most powerful leaders in the Valorian Empire. They met in a huge chamber on the capital world. Cross stood before them and presented the evidence. He showed them images and sensor data from the Quiet Observer. The council members watched in silence. "This violates every law of development we know," said Council Member Trix. "Species don't advance this quickly. It takes thousands of cycles to go from primitive to spacefaring." "Yet the evidence is clear," Cross replied. "Somehow the humans have done the impossible." "Could they have received help from another civilization?" asked another council member. "We've found no evidence of that," Cross said. "All indications suggest they developed this technology themselves." High Researcher Ven studied the data carefully. Her expression was troubled. "They must have discovered something. Some key technology or principle that accelerated their development. If we could learn what it is." "We need to make contact," Cross said. "We need to understand what happened and how." "And if they're hostile?" Trix demanded. "Then we deal with them," Cross replied. "But we should approach peacefully first." The council debated for hours. Finally, they agreed. Cross would lead a diplomatic fleet to Earth. The fleet would be heavily armed just in case, but they would offer peace first. But some council members had private concerns. After the official meeting ended, Trix met with several others in a secure room. "If the humans continue to advance at this rate," Trix said quietly, "they could surpass us within 10 cycles. They could become more powerful than the Empire." "What do you suggest?" asked another council member. "We have options," Trix said carefully. "If they refuse to cooperate, if they prove to be a threat, we could take action. Extreme action if necessary." "You're talking about genocide," someone said. "I'm talking about survival," Trix replied. "The Empire has existed for 12,000 cycles. We will not allow some upstart species to challenge our dominance." Not everyone agreed with this view, but many did. Plans were made in secret. If the humans proved too dangerous, the Empire would eliminate them before they became unstoppable. Admiral Cross knew nothing of these secret plans. He believed he was leading a peaceful mission. His fleet of 20 ships jumped to the Sol system a few days later. The humans detected them immediately. Captain Ryan Blake was testing the horizon's edge when the alarm sounded. "Multiple contacts," reported Dan Price, his sensor officer. 20 large vessels. They just appeared at the edge of the system. Ryan felt his heart racing. Are they hostile? Unknown, sir. They're not approaching. They're just waiting. Then a message came through. Ryan saw an alien face for the first time. Admiral Cross looked at him with an expression that was hard to read. I am Admiral Cross of the Valorian Empire, the alien said. His words were translated into English by his ship's computer. We come in peace to establish contact with humanity. Ryan took a deep breath. I am Captain Ryan Blake of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact. Captain Blake, we must speak with your leaders. This is very important. Within hours, arrangements were made. Admiral Cross and a small delegation traveled to one of Earth's orbital stations. Secretary General Emma Foster led the human side. Emma was the head of the United Earth Government, a position that had been created only 2 years ago when all the nations decided to work together. She was smart, tough, and diplomatic. Welcome, Admiral Cross, Emma said, shaking his hand. This is a historic moment. Cross studied the humans carefully. They looked fragile compared to Valorians, but their technology was impressive. The orbital station they stood in was more advanced than many Valorian facilities. I will be direct, Secretary General, Cross said. The Valorian Empire has ruled this galaxy for 12,000 cycles. We maintain order and peace. 3 cycles ago, we observed your planet and marked you as primitive. Now you have technology that rivals our own. We need to understand how this happened. We made a scientific discovery, Emma explained. A new type of material that helped us advance quickly. Each new technology led to more technologies. The pace kept increasing. We need to know about this technology, Cross said. For the safety of the galaxy, we must ensure it is used responsibly. Emma's eyes narrowed. Are you asking to share knowledge, or are you making demands? The Empire maintains stability by controlling dangerous technologies, Cross replied. Your rapid advancement is unprecedented. It could destabilize the galactic order. We have no plans to threaten anyone, Emma said. We just want to explore the stars and meet other species. That's what concerns us, Cross said quietly. At your rate of advancement, you could surpass every civilization in the galaxy. You could become the dominant power. My government needs assurances that you won't become a threat. The meeting ended without agreement. The Valorians wanted to oversee human development. The humans wanted to be treated as equals. Back on Earth, Commander Lily Jackson met with the military leadership. They're afraid of us, she said. The most powerful empire in the galaxy is scared of what we might become. Can you blame them? Asked General Eric Barnes. We went from primitive to advanced in 3 years. If we keep going at this rate, we'll surpass them completely within a decade. So what do we do? Lily asked. We prepare for the worst, Eric said grimly. I don't think they're going to just let us continue unchecked. His instinct was correct. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, Admiral Cross received new orders from the High Council. The orders were classified and encrypted. When he read them, his blood ran cold. They want us to destroy Earth if the humans don't submit, he whispered to High Researcher Venn on a private channel. The Council believes it's necessary, Venn replied. If humanity continues to advance, they could threaten the Empire's existence. This is murder, Cross said. We're talking about billions of innocent lives. We're talking about the survival of our civilization, Venn countered. Cross sat alone in his quarters that night, facing an impossible choice. He was a loyal officer who had served the Empire his entire life, but he was also someone who valued honor and life. The thought of destroying an entire species made him sick. Finally, he made a decision that would change everything. He sent a secret transmission to Captain Ryan Blake. Captain Blake, this is Admiral Cross. I am betraying my empire to send you this message. My government plans to attack Earth if you do not submit to their demands. You have 3 cycles to prepare. I cannot help you openly, but I will not participate in genocide. Be ready. The message reached Earth and changed everything. When Admiral Cross's warning reached Earth, everything changed. The message played in emergency meetings around the world. Political leaders, military commanders, and scientists gathered to hear the terrible news. They're going to attack us, Secretary General Emma Foster said quietly. The Valorian Empire will destroy Earth if we don't surrender to their control. How long do we have? Asked General Eric Barnes. 3 cycles, Emma replied. In their measurement, that's about 3 weeks. The room fell silent. 3 weeks to prepare for war against an empire that had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. It seemed impossible. "We can't win a conventional war," Commander Lily Jackson said. "They have 300 times more ships than us. Their technology has been refined over thousands of years." "Then we don't fight a conventional war," said Dr. Ben Carter. He had been invited to the meeting because of his work with the crystals. "We do what we've been doing. We advance, we evolve. We become something they can't fight." "In 3 weeks?" someone asked skeptically. "We've done more in 3 years than most species do in 3,000, Ben replied. 3 weeks is enough if we focus everything we have. Emma looked around the room. All in favor of Ben's plan? Every hand went up. Within hours, every laboratory on Earth was working on the same goal: survival. Scientists stopped sleeping. Engineers worked around the clock. The entire planet became focused on one thing: advancing fast enough to survive. Dr. Lisa Monroe and Dr. Ben Carter led the main research effort at the Advanced Research Institute. They pushed the crystal technology further than ever before. "The crystals don't just organize matter," Ben said during one long night. "They organize reality itself at the quantum level. Space, time, energy. It's all just different forms of the same thing. If we could control that, we could reshape reality," Lisa finished. "We wouldn't just have better weapons or shields. We could rewrite the rules of physics themselves." They shared their research with every lab on the planet. Teams in Tokyo, London, New York, and Mumbai all worked on different aspects of the problem. Progress came in leaps and bounds. Jake Morrison, the engineer who had invented efficient fusion reactors, created a new power system. It tapped directly into the quantum field that connected all of reality. The power output was nearly infinite. Dr. Amy Zhang built on her faster-than-light drive work. She discovered how to create pocket dimensions, small bubbles of space that existed outside normal reality. Ships could hide in these pockets and emerge anywhere. Dr. Chris Hoffman's medical nanobots were repurposed. Instead of healing bodies, they could now repair and upgrade technology in real time. Ships could heal themselves during battle. But some scientists took a different approach. Dr. Alex Rivera led a team that was thinking bigger. "We're still thinking like physical beings," Alex said to his research group. "We're trying to build better ships and better weapons. But what if we didn't need ships at all? What if we could evolve beyond physical form?" "You're talking about becoming pure energy?" asked Dr. Nina Walsh, who had joined his team. "Not just energy," Alex replied. "Consciousness without physical limits. We could exist as patterns in the quantum field itself. We'd be everywhere and nowhere at once. We'd be impossible to destroy because we wouldn't exist in the traditional sense." "That's insane," someone said. "So was faster-than-light travel 3 years ago," Alex countered. "So was matter replication. So was everything we've done. Why stop now?" His team began working on the theory of consciousness transfer. It was the most radical idea yet, but in 3 weeks, radical was what they needed. Meanwhile, Commander Ryan Blake oversaw the military preparations. Humanity's 50 starships were upgraded with the new technologies. Energy shields that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Weapons that could tear holes in space-time. Propulsion systems that made them faster than anything in the galaxy. "Even with all this," Ryan said to Kate Sullivan, "we're still outnumbered. They have hundreds of ships. We have 50. Quality over quantity," Kate replied. "Each of our ships is now more advanced than their entire fleet. At least I hope so." As the deadline approached, tension on Earth was extreme. People knew that an alien armada was coming to destroy them, but they also felt a strange confidence. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and countless disasters. They would survive this too. On the final day before the Valorian fleet was due to arrive, Dr. Alex Rivera made a breakthrough. His team had figured out how to transfer human consciousness into the quantum field. They had tested it on volunteers. It worked. "We can do it," Alex announced at an emergency meeting. "We can evolve the entire human race beyond physical form. We'd be safe from any attack. They can't destroy what they can't touch." "But we'd be giving up our bodies," Emma said. "Our physical existence. Are we ready for that?" "We don't have to decide for everyone," Alex replied. "We can make it voluntary. Those who want to ascend can. Those who want to stay physical can remain on Earth or evacuate to other planets." A global referendum was held in 6 hours. It was the fastest vote in human history. 70% of humanity chose to ascend. The rest chose to evacuate or stay and fight. 3 cycles after Admiral Cross's warning, his war fleet arrived at Earth. He commanded 300 warships. the largest fleet the Empire had assembled in 1,000 years. He hoped the show of force would make the humans surrender peacefully. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy readings from Earth," his sensor officer reported. "The entire planet is glowing. The energy output is off all our scales." Cross stared at the display in shock. Earth wasn't just generating power. The whole planet had become something else entirely. It looked like a star, but it wasn't hot. It was radiating energy in patterns he had never seen before. "What have they done?" he whispered. A transmission reached his ship. It was Secretary General Emma Foster, but her voice sounded different. It had harmonics and overtones that seemed to resonate with reality itself. "Admiral Cross, thank you for the warning you sent us. It gave us the time we needed." "What have you done?" Cross asked. "We evolved," Emma replied. "You were right to fear our advancement. But you should have realized that threatening us would only make us advance faster. We reached a technological singularity, Admiral. We're no longer bound by physical limitations." The space around Earth began to shimmer. Suddenly, every ship in the Valorian fleet stopped moving. Their engines went dead. Their weapons powered down. They were completely frozen in space. "We could destroy your fleet easily," Emma continued. "We could destroy your entire empire without effort. But we won't. Despite everything we've become, we're still human. We still remember compassion and mercy." Cross felt overwhelming relief. "What will you do with us?" "Nothing," Emma said. "We're leaving this dimension. Earth is too small for what we've become. We're moving to a higher plane of existence. But before we go, we want to give you something." Data flooded into every Valorian ship. Terabytes of information, scientific knowledge, technological blueprints, philosophical insights. Everything humanity had learned, offered freely. "You ruled through military power," Emma said, "but true strength comes from cooperation and sharing. Use what we've given you wisely. Help other species instead of controlling them. Don't fear progress. Embrace it." Cross stared at the data streaming into his computers. It would take centuries to understand it all. Technology to cure diseases, end scarcity, expand lifespans, explore the deepest mysteries of the universe. "Why?" Cross asked. "Why give us this? We came here to destroy you." "Because we're better than that," Emma replied. "And we hope you will be too." The light around Earth intensified until it was blinding. Then, in a flash that lit up half the galaxy, humanity transcended. They didn't disappear exactly. They just moved beyond physical reality into dimensions the Valorians couldn't perceive. When the light faded, Earth was still there. But it was empty now. The cities were abandoned. The orbital stations were silent. Humanity had left everything behind and moved on to something greater. Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, staring at the empty planet below. Earth looked peaceful and beautiful, but it was abandoned now. Every human was gone, transcended to a form of existence he couldn't even imagine. "What do we do now, Admiral?" his second officer, Talon, asked quietly. Cross looked at the data the humans had left behind. It filled their computers with knowledge that would take lifetimes to fully understand. Medical technology that could extend life for thousands of years. Energy systems that could power entire star systems. Scientific theories that explained the deepest mysteries of the universe. "We learn," Cross said finally. "We take what they gave us and we become better." That's what they wanted. He sent a full report to the High Council. The message took several days to reach the capital world. When the council members read it, they were shocked into silence. Council member Trix, who had wanted to destroy humanity, sat in his chambers reading the report over and over. The humans had become godlike in mere weeks. They could have destroyed the entire Valorian Empire with a thought. Instead, they had given the Empire gifts and left peacefully. "We were wrong," Trix admitted in the next council meeting. "We saw their rapid advancement as a threat. We planned genocide, and they responded with mercy and generosity. We have much to learn from them." The council voted unanimously to change the Empire's policies. No longer would they dominate younger species. Instead, they would help them grow. They would share knowledge instead of hoarding it. They would follow the example humanity had set. High researcher Ven led the effort to understand the human technology. She assembled the best scientists from across the Empire. They worked for years, slowly unraveling the secrets humanity had discovered in just a few years. "It's beautiful," Ven said to Admiral Cross during one of his visits to her lab. "The humans found a way to make technology build upon itself. Each discovery enabled 10 more. It's like they found a shortcut through the normal path of development." "Can we replicate it?" Cross asked. Eventually, Ven replied. But it will take time. We're not as adaptable as the humans were. They had something special, a willingness to take risks, to try impossible things. We've been stable and comfortable for so long that we've become cautious. Maybe that's something we need to change, Cross suggested. Over the following years, the Valorian Empire transformed. Using human technology, they cured diseases that had plagued them for millennia. They eliminated scarcity and poverty. They began to explore regions of space they had thought unreachable, and they changed how they treated other species. When they encountered primitive civilizations, they no longer just cataloged them and left. Instead, they offered guidance and help. They shared knowledge carefully, helping younger species advance at their own pace. Captain Dren, who had commanded the Quiet Observer when it first discovered humanity's transformation, was put in charge of a new program. It was called the Human Initiative, and its goal was to help other species avoid the mistakes the Empire had made. The humans taught us an important lesson, Dren explained at a conference of ambassadors. Progress isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace, but it needs to be guided by wisdom and compassion. We need to help other species grow while ensuring they don't destroy themselves in the process. Not everyone in the galaxy welcomed the Empire's new approach. Some species were suspicious of the sudden change. Others resented the help, seeing it as interference. But slowly, gradually, the galaxy began to change for the better. Meanwhile, back at Earth, something strange began to happen. The planet remained empty, but explorers reported unusual energy readings. Strange harmonics that seemed to carry meaning. Patterns in space that resembled mathematical equations. They're still here, Dr. Ben Carter said. He was one of the 30% of humans who had chosen not to ascend. He had remained physical and now worked as a liaison between humanity's two forms. The humans who transcended didn't leave the galaxy. They just moved to a higher dimension. They're watching over us. It was true. Dr. Lisa Monroe, who had ascended along with billions of others, existed now as a pattern of pure consciousness woven into the fabric of reality itself. She could perceive things she never could have imagined when she was physical. She could see the quantum connections that linked all matter and energy. She could observe the flow of time as if it were a visible river, but she hadn't forgotten her origins. None of the ascended humans had. They watched over the galaxy they had left behind, occasionally nudging events in helpful directions. A scientist who was stuck on a problem might suddenly have a breakthrough idea. A diplomatic negotiation that was failing might suddenly find common ground. These weren't coincidences. They were gentle guidance from humanity's ascended form. Dr. Alex Rivera, who had led the Ascension Project, found that he enjoyed his new existence immensely. He could travel across the galaxy in an instant. He could perceive entire civilizations at once. He could understand complex systems in ways that would have taken physical scientists centuries to figure out. This is what we were meant to become, Alex said to Lisa, communicating through quantum resonance rather than sound. Physical existence was just the beginning, the chrysalis before the butterfly. But we shouldn't forget where we came from, Lisa replied. We were fragile and limited once. We struggled and suffered. That experience made us who we are. That's why we need to protect those who are still physical. The ascended humans became guardians of the galaxy. They didn't interfere directly in most affairs. Species needed to develop and grow on their own. But when true danger threatened, when extinction-level events occurred, the ascended humans would quietly help. A plague that would have wiped out an entire species was mysteriously cured when scientists suddenly understood the solution. An asteroid that would have destroyed a planet was nudged onto a different path by unexplained gravitational fluctuations. A war that would have killed billions suddenly ended when both sides had simultaneous changes of heart. Admiral Cross, now retired and serving as a teacher at the Imperial Academy, often told his students about humanity. They proved that advancement doesn't require losing your soul, he would say. They went from primitive to godlike in a breath, but they never forgot how to be kind. They could have conquered the galaxy, but instead they chose to protect it. That's the real lesson they taught us. His students would always ask the same question. Are they really still out there? The ascended humans? Yes, Cross would reply. They're everywhere and nowhere. They're watching over us. Sometimes when I look at the stars, I feel like they're looking back. He was right. Emma Foster, in her ascended form, occasionally observed the academy where Cross taught. She felt proud when she heard him speak about humanity. They had made the right choice in showing mercy to the Valorians. The Empire had learned and grown from the experience. "We changed the galaxy," Emma communicated to the other ascended humans. "Not through conquest or force, but through example. That's real power. Should we make contact?" Someone asked. "Let them know we're still here?" "Not yet," Emma replied. "Let them develop on their own. We'll be here if they truly need us, but the best thing we can do is let them grow without interference." That's what we would have wanted. Down on New Earth, a colony world that humans had established before the Ascension, Dr. Ben Carter sat in his laboratory working on new applications of crystal technology. He was old now, in his 70s, but he still felt young in spirit. His granddaughter Sophie came to visit him. She was 10 years old and fascinated by science. "Grandpa," she asked, "do you ever regret not ascending? Don't you wish you were like the others?" Ben smiled and shook his head. "No, sweetie. I chose to stay physical because I wanted to experience life as a human. Real touch, real taste, real emotions. The ascended humans gained a lot, but they also gave up something precious. They can't eat ice cream anymore. They can't feel the sun on their face. They can't hug their grandchildren." He pulled Sophie into a warm embrace. "This is worth more than any amount of power or knowledge." Sophie hugged him back. "Will they ever come back? Will they be human again?" "I don't know," Ben admitted. "Maybe someday. But for now, they're exactly where they need to be. And so are we." As the years passed, the story of humanity's ascension became a legend told across the galaxy. Every species knew about the humans who had evolved from primitive to godlike in just a few years. The story inspired some and frightened others, but everyone agreed it was the most remarkable event in galactic history. The Valorian Empire continued to change and improve, guided by the knowledge humanity had left behind. They helped dozens of other species reach the stars. They prevented wars and cured plagues. They became the teachers instead of the conquerors. And somewhere beyond the physical universe, in dimensions of pure consciousness and energy, humanity watched and waited. They had transcended, but they had not forgotten. They remained connected to the galaxy that had birthed them, ready to help if true danger ever arose. Dr. Lisa Monroe, in her ascended form, sometimes thought about that day in her laboratory when she had first created the crystal. That one discovery had changed everything. It had lifted humanity from insignificance to godhood in what felt like a single breath. Was it worth it? She asked herself.